Uh, Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, airline safe flight delays will continue following the air traffic system glitch on New Year's Day. But more recovery flights are being mounted to assist stranded passengers. MIAA Senior Assistant General Manager Bryan and Philippine Airlines spokesperson Cielo Villaluna joins us in the program. And later, all hands on deck in addressing the concerns of some 3,000 OFWs affected by the air traffic technical issue. We get the latest from Migrant Workers Undersecretary Hans Kakdak live. Aviation authorities have fixed the air traffic system problem at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, but flights are still disrupted 2 days after the technical glitch that left thousands of travelers stranded at the country's main gateway on New Year's Day. Airlines continue mounting recovery flights after hundreds of cancellations on Sunday. Let's go straight to the source of the story. First off, we have Manila International Airport Authority Senior Assistant General Manager Bryan. Bryan, welcome back to the source. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Pinky, and thanks for having us again in your program. And we hope to share more information about what happened the past few days.
Yeah, okay. So tell us, what is the situation now first in all 4 terminals of the airport?
Basically, today we're starting to normalize already. So for today, we don't have any canceled flights anymore, although we expect some delays on certain flights. Compared to the other 2 days, on the January 1, we had actually 414 canceled flights. And yesterday, we had around 72 canceled flights. So we mentioned that we usually have a 72-hour window or 3 to 4 days for us to recover all of the scheduled flights for all our airlines. And we're on our path towards recovery. And we're glad to report that as of today, the terminals are not as congested. The passenger flow is very manageable, and we're operating a full schedule since yesterday. Actually, yesterday, the figures already came in. We operated around 755 flights and had around 133,000 passengers that went through our NAIA terminals, all 4 terminals, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, Bryan, let me just clarify something to you, while I fix my video. Hold on. Okay, so when you say that during the first day there were about 400 canceled flights, and then on the second day about 72, more or less, that's about 472 flights. How many of those have done what is called the recovery flights? Pag sinabi kasing recovery flights, ibig sabihin na-cancel yung flights nila and kailangan ma-reschedule. So with that 400 or almost 500 flights on day 1 and day 2, how many have had the recovery flights mounted?
Well, airlines will mount recovery flights based on the availability of their fleet. So the passengers have different options, which were presented to them during the disruption. First, of course, they are offered to be rebooked to other flights. So the flight could be on an extra section flight, which you mount so that you can bring the passengers from point A to point B. Some will opt to have their flights on another date because they're not going to push through with their travel plans on this weekend. And some passengers will also opt for refunds. Those were actually the options that were given by the airlines to our passengers. And some will also have the option to have their flights given as a travel fund so that they can use this for future travel. So these are different options. So it's not necessarily that all 414 flights will be remounted or there will be additional 414 flights. The other passengers were distributed to the other flights throughout the weeks and the coming days.
So, but airlines are now doing, I guess, what we can call catching up on the flights, right? To understand, for everybody's knowledge and understanding, if your flight was canceled, for example, in last January 1, but flights resumed the next day, for example, January 2, who takes priority? Is it the flight that's scheduled that day, or is it the canceled flight the day before?
For let's say for January 2, the flights that will be operating on January 2, the priority will be for the passengers who are booked on January 2. So the passengers who had canceled flights on January 1, if there will be extra flights that will be mounted for these passengers, then they will be taking that flight. But if not, they will be rebooked on other flights throughout the next few days or next weeks. But of course, the priority for
Yeah.
those succeeding flights would be the booked passengers for those certain flights.
Understandably, because what happens, I guess, if we try to understand what happens in the airport itself, no, when the passengers are there, na-cancel yung flight nila nung araw na yon. Take, for example, January 1, and they decide to stay, hoping to get a flight in January 2. Marami kasing pasahero magsasabing, sandali, kahapon pa kami naghihintay dito. Bakit nauna pa yung flight ng January 2? So it's clear that what is scheduled on that day is supposed to take priority over the flight that was canceled the day before.
Yes, you are correct. But the airlines are actually giving options to these passengers through their customer service programs that they're offering these passengers either to be rebooked on the other flights, or if the rebooking is not acceptable to them, they can opt for a refund without penalty or to be given a travel fund which they can use on another day.
Yeah, that's of course under the rights of the passengers, right, Bryan? But when do you expect all these recovery flights to be mounted? I understand that even the GM was saying there was a 72-hour window by which everything should normalize. So this happened in January 1, full operational by evening of January 1. It's already January 3. So kailan kaya matatapos tong mga tinatawag na recovery flights?
We expect actually to normalize already by tomorrow or by Thursday. So normalizing means we will be operating our regular schedule without these extra flights of the airline. So that's the three-day or 72-hour window that we indicated during our previous statements.
Would you be able to tell us how many recovery flights are still supposed to be mounted?
As of today, actually, we're already operating the normal schedule, but that's why we're not yet declaring it as a fully recovered, because these normal flights, these regular flights, are still delayed because of the aircraft rotation issues that will take a couple of days since day one on January. So a lot of the adjustments by our airlines is based on the number of aircraft that they can deploy. That's why they're still fine tuning their schedules so that they can normalize in terms of the timings. But by tomorrow, what we can say is all of our flights in and out of NAIA will operate according to the published schedules.
But there's still a possibility of delays even tomorrow.
Well, the delays will be possible, at any day. But the delays for tomorrow would no longer be attributable to the air traffic issue on January 1. It could be another factor. What we're saying is by tomorrow, because of the programs that we implemented in the past 2 days, we actually lifted the runway closures so that it will help the airlines try to recover their normal schedule. So what we're projecting is by tomorrow, we should be able to mount our full regular schedule already.
And let's talk about that, Bryan, the air traffic issue. What is the latest on this?
That since January 1 in the afternoon, around 17:50 or 5:50 in the afternoon, what was declared by CAAP, we're already 100% in terms of our air navigational services here in the Philippines. So that was the main issue that affected all of the flights of the Philippine airspace on January 1, where more than 65,000 passengers of NAIA were affected. But as of that afternoon, it was declared fully operational, and based on the reports yesterday, we already have the necessary systems that could assure us of a smooth air traffic flow here in the Philippines. That's why as I mentioned yesterday, we already operated around 755 flights, which is actually the average number of flights that we've been operating the past 30 days. So we're already in full schedule. We're just trying to recover. And in terms of the air traffic service, it's all back to normal according to the CAAP.
And is there anything being done right now by the CAAP to be able to assure the passengers, the airline companies, that such an incident won't happen again? Because we've already talked about this uninterruptible power, the backups, pero yung uninterruptible power, naging interrupted pala, hindi pala siya uninterrupted. What kind of measures are being put in place, if any, that you can tell us right now? I know, of course, this is through the CAAP, so that a similar incident won't happen again.
Yes, basically, of course, the DOTR is putting so much importance on this, and actually they stated that, of course, the main solution would be redundancies. As we speak right now, they're conducting a full investigation about what happened, so that they're not ruling out anything as of now, but we know that it was a technical glitch on January 1. They're currently meeting right now at CAAP to check on the possible issues that they face, and of course, they already have the possible spare parts that they need to avoid any future disruption. As discussed during our joint conference January 1, the CAP indicated that within 30 days they will have the extra parts that they need to avoid any such failure. So the DOTR is on top of this, and part of that is, of course, the importance on redundant systems, and of course contingencies that should be in place so that we can avoid any future occurrence of this type.
Yeah, and we wish to talk to the CAAP regarding this. We understand, of course, the investigation is ongoing. So in the meantime, hopefully everything normalizes, full operational anyway since the evening of January 1. And the recovery flights are ongoing. As you mentioned a while ago, the runway has been open from 1:30 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. normally. That is closed, giving the airlines the capacity to be able to mount flights within that 2-hour window that's supposed to be closed, which MIAA had actually already opened for more flights to be able to come in. So in the meantime, Bryan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, and have a nice day. Happy New Year.
Thank you. And we will be taking a short break. We're going to talk to pals Cielo Villaluna after the break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Philippine Airlines spokesperson Cielo Villaluna. Cielo, welcome to The Source. And let me already ask my question. Cielo, how many passengers of PAL were affected by this technical glitch?
All right. First of all, Happy New Year, Pinky. Glad to see you. And Happy New Year to everyone on CNN Philippines. All right. As to your question, we have had a total of 24,000 passengers affected by these cancellations. Of these 24,000, 16,000 are domestic passengers, and the rest are international passengers.
Okay. And we were talking about recovery flights with Bryan a little while back. How many recovery flights does PAL still need to mount to be able to make up for those flights that were canceled because of this technical glitch?
All right. We carried out around 20 domestic recovery flights and around 30 international recovery flights. And the process has been completed, Pinky, from January 1 when the runway opened by 5 p.m. And we continued on the recovery operations up to yesterday, up to 12 midnight yesterday. So we are done with our recovery flights. We are also done with our extra sector flights. And this has created a domino effect on our operations in the form of flight delays yesterday and even slight delays today. So we can say that we will be fully normalized by tomorrow, meaning to say we will be able to follow our published flight schedules. Give or take a few delays that will not be caused, of course, by the technical issue, but caused by other factors, which is part and parcel of regular operations.
So Cielo, to those passengers right now who may be watching us that are taking PAL flights, what can you say to them? Sigurado ba yung mga lahat ng flights ng PAL ngayon matutuloy?
All right. Sa mga may flights ngayon, we assure you that our operations have normalized. Today, please expect slight delays. Tomorrow, we hope to restore our published schedules and to adhere to these published schedules. To passengers who have yet to rebook, you have options. You may rebook within 60 days from your original flight date. We have waived the rebooking penalty fees. You may refund the unused portion of your ticket. You can also convert your ticket into a travel voucher for use within 1 year from date of issuance. And we are also calling for the kind understanding of our passengers who would like to rebook on the soonest possible flight. You know, Pinky, this is the peak of the peak season. Meaning to say, this is the time
Right.
when passengers are flying back to their home base or flying out for a late celebration of the new year. So this is happening at the most critical time. Even if we have mounted extra flights, this is not enough to cover the all 24,000 affected passengers. So we hope to clear the backlog in a few weeks. As far when you say clearing of the backlog, meaning to say makalipad na ang lahat no na apektadong
Yeah.
pasahero.
Yeah, and you know, it's really good to clear this up, Cielo, with everybody. This is obviously not the fault of the airline companies. We can just imagine the kind of nightmare the passengers have had to go through, the pilots that have had to go through this, the airline companies as well, who are trying to get answers and trying to, you know, mount flights and trying to be able to give the passengers the right kind of information. I was asking Bryan a while ago the same question I want to ask you, Cielo, no? Pagdating kasi sa recovery flights, once your flight is canceled, you don't take priority in the next flight. The priority really is the scheduled flight on that particular day or on that particular hour.
Yeah, that's correct. I was listening to the interview. As far as the level of prioritization is concerned, people who have medical issues, the elderly, premier elite passengers, that's a fact. They belong to the priority list. They are prioritized for the extra sector flights, and the rest of the passenger base, they are reaccommodated on the next available flights. If the next available flight would be 2 or 3 days from their original flight date, then that is what they have to take. Because the passengers of the regular flights, and we started resuming normal operations, Pinky, they take priority because that is their original flight. And if there is space, then they are reaccommodated. So that is a fact because they are prioritized, the passengers of those regular flights. That's why we had to carry out other mitigating steps like upgrading the aircraft from a narrow body to wide body aircraft to accommodate more passengers. That's one step. The second is to mount additional extra sector flights. And the third is to carry out replacement flights. But we cannot continue carrying those steps now that we are transitioning into normalcy, then the regular schedule takes over. So you are correct. The passengers of the scheduled flights take precedence over the other passengers because that is their flight, and we will reaccommodate if there is space.
And there is always that priority, as you mentioned, Cielo, a while ago, that the seniors will take priority, definitely those with medical concerns. But also to be clear, that includes also at least one companion.
Yes, that's whoever is on the same booking record locator as the original passenger. That's the party that will assist people who are most in need. They're part of the party, so they're part of the whole roster. Yes. Aside from that, Pinky, we also
Cielo,
prioritize.
go ahead, please.
We also prioritize transit passengers. For instance, we have passengers from international flights continuing on to domestic flights. For instance, our flight from Honolulu to Manila, they were carried, the majority of the passengers were continuing on to our Manila-Lawag flight, but the airspace was closed. So we provided them land transfers. Even if under the passenger bill of rights, it is a force majeure situation and airlines are not mandated to provide offerings, but we did we carried out these initiatives out of goodwill and for humanitarian reasons. So marami tayong ginawa within the last 2 days, and still there are a lot of there are calls for immediate flights, but our frontliners explained to the affected passengers that these are the available flights down the line. So as I mentioned a while ago, we are hoping to clear the backlog in a week or two.
All right. PAL spokesperson Cielo Villaluna, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pinky, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We will be taking another short break. When we come back, we're going to talk to migrant workers under Secretary Hans Kakdak. What kind of assistance can they give our overseas Filipino workers? We will be right back.